could men masturbate better? Is there some type of knowledge that men are missing about masturbation? And tying it into any porno, is masturbating to porno less good for you than masturbating to your imagination, to another visual? Any thoughts on this self-pleasuring thing that most of us do and don't talk about?
Yeah. Yeah, so I noticed that when you were just speaking, like, you saved the word self-pleasure till the very end. And I think that most of us men have been robbed in some way by society and by ignorance, basically. Like, we just don't understand how our sexual response systems work. So the way that most of us have grown up masturbating is we like stand still, or we lay down and we're perfectly still and we just like move our hand up and down, back and forth really rapidly, and then done. You know, we have the ejaculatory orgasm and it's over. And there's pleasure in that, of course, but also we're training our sexual response system to lay still, to not breathe deeply, to have the whole point of the pleasure session be the ejaculatory orgasm. And that's a training ground for the whole sexual experience. So if you do that habitually, when you get into sex with another human, your system is going to be running those same programs, you know? You just did a look. What's that look about?
I never heard that before. I never even thought of that before, you know?
Yeah, it's a training ground, you know? It's like you do the same thing over and over and over again, and those patterns are going to carry through to whatever you do next. So if you masturbate to ejaculation in 5 minutes or less all the time, what gives you any idea like you're going to easily be able to last longer than 5 minutes in sex, you know? And the flip side of that is it's really challenging to touch yourself in a sexual way for longer than 5 minutes without any porn or without any external stimuli, you know? And this right here is the key to so much, to unlocking so much in the sexual experience for men, in my opinion, and what I've seen in myself and other people, is to switch how we masturbate from this like staying still, moving the hand back and forth like a jackhammer, right. to a full body like sexual experience, as if we're having sex with ourselves. We're touching our whole body, we're breathing deeply, and we're doing it for longer than 5 minutes. Ideally, we're doing it for up to 20 minutes, so our body can fully relax into that experience. And so our entire sexual response system lets go of the idea that ejaculation is the goal, you know, and that just opens up the door so much.
So I took your course, you know, your 21-day semen retention course. And I thought it was super fascinating, and that was one of the homework assignments. It said, hey, have sex with yourself and do it for a long time and don't ejaculate, don't make your penis the focal point. Yeah. And I gotta tell you, this is the hardest thing I did on your whole course, because I was going and I just kept checking the timer. I said, surely it's been an hour, and I check and it had been like 3 minutes. Yeah. And I went, whoa, and I noticed all this fear came up in me, and all this discomfort in my body, and I didn't know what to do. And I remember that was the hardest challenge, and you give some challenging challenges there in this course. And I'm curious, does it, I guess what you're saying is a little practice makes perfect. What should you expect after doing this in a consistent way, masturbating in this new way where you bring your whole body in to it?
I do want to acknowledge, like, yes, it takes a fair amount of work to shift your sexual programming. And when I first really started diving into this stuff, I stopped watching porn, I stopped fantasizing, I tried to do like a complete sexual system reboot and fast, and I started doing these self-pleasure sessions for at least 20 minutes, and excuse me, I didn't have an erection for almost 3 weeks, you know, in that beginning phase. And I thought throughout the whole time, like, oh fuck, am I broken? Like, did I totally screw myself up? Have I watched so much porn that I'm not going to be able to get an erection without a woman there, or porn, or some sort of fantasy? Like, I had all these thoughts and concerns and fears running through my mind and in my body. And you know, like, fear is also a huge killer of arousal and desire, so it just compounded. But eventually, with practice and consistent effort, and also with people telling me that this is what would happen eventually, I did eventually have an erection again. And I experienced a whole different kind of sexual arousal that was internally generated and wasn't relying on anybody else outside of me. And it fundamentally shifted how I made love and how I had sex with myself and with other people.
Cool. A little practice makes perfect, with a good focus on a goal at the end of like, hey, it'll get to a good point where you'll distribute pleasure more around your body rather than just focus it.
Totally. And not just a little practice. I mean, we're talking about a lot of practice here, because how old are you?
41.
You're 41, I'm 35. We've both got decades of practice, if you want to call it that, doing the other thing, you know? Watching porn, masturbating quickly to ejaculation, and that's decades of stuff that you have to rewire, and all of that has left an imprint in our brains.
I want to switch a little gears here and say, I want to talk about threesomes. I'm curious your take on how, on if that fantasy lives up to the reality.